Hi, this is Susan Alexander from The Funky Professor. I'm an orthopedic surgeon and I'm also founder of The Funky Professor. And we set up The Funky Professor 10 years ago with the sole purpose of teaching anatomy to students so that they could go on to use this in their career and also have a career of their dreams, really. But what I've begun to realize as we've been teaching is that the success in learning any subject is not just the content itself, but it's also the attitude that you bring to your study. And so when I looked at this a bit more closely, I also realized that as you shift from school to university, there is a massive change in how you're taught, but also how you learn. And for example, when you're at school, your teacher is there with you all the time telling you what to do, and you're told exactly what to do. But at university, there's much more importance given to self-learning, which does require a lot of self-motivation. Now, this transition going from school to university can be challenging, but there are things that you can do to set yourself up for success. And this is what I'm hoping to cover in some of these videos. On Friday, I talked about goal setting, and I suggested that you think about your goal, where you want to be, but not just in terms of a job description, but in terms of where you want to be in terms of your personality and your outlook on life. Did you want to be confident? Did you want to be healthy? Did you want to be academic? Or maybe you wanted to be creative? This is something that only you can decide because this is about you. Now, setting a goal is the start of it, but it's not the only thing you need to do to succeed. You need to figure out how you're going to get there. So that means what systems, what processes do you need to put in place to get you from where you are now to where you want to be? So where do you start with all of that? So the way I've certainly started in the past is think about, well, where am I now? Actually, let me correct that. The way, if I was telling my younger self how to do this, would be to think about, where are you now? So a lot of who we are as people is influenced by our families, by our parents, by our friends, by clubs we go to, by the hobbies we have, and the culture that we're from. And we don't often stop and think, well, is that what I feel? Is that what I believe? And if you're about to start university, this is a great time just to put aside a few moments just to think about that. What do I stand for? It's time to write your manifesto. And by that, I mean, if you wanted to send a message to the world about who you are and what your values are and what you represent, what would you say? So this is going to be different for each and every one of you. And it is easy to assume that everybody else in the world sees the world exactly as you do, but it's not the case. So it's important for you to decide what you think, what you feel, and write it down. For example, you might think it's important to be kind, or it's important to be generous, or you may think it's important to be ambitious and determined. It might be important for you to help other people or to make a lot of money. You may think that everybody in the world should be treated equally and fairly. And if you have these strong beliefs, you may think that everybody in the world thinks like this. But if they did, then none of the isms would exist. So there wouldn't be any sexism, there wouldn't be any racism, there wouldn't be any bigotism, because by the fact and the nature of everybody should be treated equally, those things shouldn't exist. So once you've thought about those ideas, then think about the actual activities that you think are important. So, for example, you may think it's important to get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and do some exercise, or you may think it's important to make your bed every day, or study every day, or have a hobby outside of your studies, or you may think it's important to pray daily. So have a think about your true beliefs, just write them down, free flow it, stream of consciousness, don't overthink it, just write it down. Now, one of the wider contexts of this is that as well as having more independence in how you study, you will also have more independence generally. Excuse me, I've got a little sniffle at the moment. So in your life at home, you will probably be living by other people's rules. So the rules of your parents, the rules of your family. But now is a time where you get to make the decisions which some of you may think, Brilliant. There's nobody going to be nagging me to make my bed. There's nobody going to be telling me I have to visit family friends when I don't want to. But with more independence comes choice and responsibility. And it's quite easy to get distracted. You will meet people from all different walks of life that you would never normally have had the chance to meet. So at home, you tend to mix roughly in the same social circles, and it's a fairly narrow field when you consider like the whole world out there. But at university, you're going to meet people from all over your country, possibly all over the world. So if you have come from a home where your mum has always cooked your meals, has always made your bed, has always done your washing, has been your own personal taxi service, that's your reality. But a lot of other people, for example, have had to look after themselves at home, cook their own meals. They've had to live with parents who are divorced, so they live in two different homes, or they've had to work a job to be able to afford the privilege of education. So their idea of reality is very different from yours. So that's the great thing about university, is meeting people from all different walks of life and expanding your horizons. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're studying anatomy to be a healthcare professional, you will meet people from all walks of life, and you'll be treating people from all walks of life. So to provide them with the best care possible, to be able to deliver the best service you can, developing empathy for other people, having an appreciation and a respect for other people's beliefs is so important. So before you start thinking about other people's beliefs, it's useful to be aware of your own. So consider these questions as you go through your college, and it will help you stay both focused and grounded. So if you write it down when you feel distracted, or when you feel down, or when you feel lonely or discouraged, you can look at this and remind yourself of your manifesto. So that's your homework for today. Give that some thought. And next time, I'm going to be talking about some simple things you can start to think about and do so that you can start planning and getting yourself towards success.